Good evening, everybody. It is Straight Talk, Food for the Soul, and we're back. We took a few weeks off. We were on last week. The dad passed, and I had to catch my breath, making sure that I was healthy. But we're ready to roll now. We're ready to roll. I would like all my beautiful guests to introduce themselves, tell them where they can find you, and then we're gonna have prayer and have our scripture. And we're gonna start with Ben, then Trey, then JDL.
My name is Ben Price, host the I Am podcast. I am on Facebook under Ben Price. I Am podcast is on all of the major streaming platforms, so you can listen to myself and my friend Chris McClurkland have different discussions. But easy way to catch me is on Facebook, and you can see all of our podcasts and all the discussions here.
Right?
Okay. I'm Trey of H3 Records. Um, wow. I do so much, actually. Um, I have a nonprofit called the Color Fighters, and it's aimed towards making sure that no one ever feels alone in a health challenge. So I do that. I actually facilitate a Men's Monday group. It's called Iron Sharpen Iron. And we talk about some of the things that men talk about, and we need to kind of get clarification on that. On top of that, I actually just released Penetration. So this is a 21-day journey from hurting to healing. Amongst that, you can find me everywhere on any social media platform, from TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. It's Trey, Treye of H3 Records. And Miss Claudette is one of my favorite people in the world.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Miss JDL.
Well, I am Jadia Bellamy. I am the owner of J&Co Brand Design Studio, where we help service providers use their God-given vision to birth powerful brands with purpose. I also have a podcast slash, I like to call it online talk show that comes on every Thursday called Girl Get This, where we talk about all things dating and relationships, which I think is so important in this 2023 day, right? And you can find me on Facebook at Jadia Bellamy, or you can visit my website at www.jandco.com.
I thank you. We may have another guest coming on, but if he doesn't make it, I bless him anyway because he's an amazing guy. We're inviting our TikTok family on now, to all our Facebook watchers, all my friends that are popping on. Our topic tonight is a man a provider if he cannot pay all the bills. Before we jump in, JD is going to pray us in.
Yes. So, Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus, thank you for another blessed day. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for this opportunity to share in conversation that can change lives, change mindsets, and even save family homes. Lord God, I thank you for what's about to be spoken. I thank you for the seeds that are about to be planted to land on fertile ground. And I thank you just for the change that it is going to make. Lord God, I ask that you just bless Minister Claudette for her obedience and putting this together, for it is truly necessary. I ask that you help all of us to decrease so that you can increase, so that thy will be done. And I pray for all of this in the mighty, mighty name of Jesus. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. We're
Amen.
going to get our
Amen.
scripture. And I didn't realize in the Bible there's over 103 different scriptures about husbands and wives.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's why the Bible says, study to show thyself approved. I was like,
That's what
Okay.
what it say.
yes. But I am going to go with this particular scripture because it has the word provide in it. And it is 1 Timothy 5:7-8. And these things give in charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his house, he have denied faith and is worse than an infidel. That scripture can go 1,000 different ways. We got to know who, what, where, and why.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not gonna do that tonight, but we are gonna have a podcast on how to break down the word. And I'm gonna have a real guy to come. I'm just gonna throw out scripture and he gonna break it down for us.
You better know how to exegete these scriptures now. If you're going to use them, better know how to exegete them.
Yes. So we're going to go there. We cannot go into this topic without breaking down what you guys think a relationship is. So how can we talk about this thing if we don't have that viewpoint? So whoever wants to go first, tell me what a relationship is.
I'll kick it off. As far as a relationship, must make it very simple. A relationship is a partnership. There are two equal persons engaged in a partnership together. I don't care if it's man, woman, 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 man, man. Relationship is a partnership of two equal persons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna leave it there.
Anybody want to go next? I'm ready.
I'll go next. I do agree with Ben. I think a relationship is a partnership. Because even when you go and you look at Adam and Eve, they were partners because Eve was created and designed to help Adam. And I think that sometimes we lose focus of that to know that we're equals and we're all helping each other. And I think that true relationship is where you are equal and you're both striving to help the other be the greatest version of themselves that they can be.
Don't take a single moment of life.
Okay, we just had our other guest trying to figure out some stuff. Come on, Trey.
I think both of those definitions are awesome. I would like to piggyback off of them and say that, being that the partnership, the relationship, dialogue, I think a relationship allows a person to get from another person as well as give into that person. It allows you to get poured into and to pour into. And that's one of the most important things I think that I've experienced in relationships was the ability to be poured into and the courage and the whatever you want to call it to pour into someone else.
Okay. My version of a relationship is, as Ben said, two equal partners. But I'm a little old school. I'm going to just be honest. I just really feel like I'm walking right here, but my husband has the last say. I'm just real old school that way. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to do what we need to do. But when the decision's made, he's the covering, it falls on him, not me. Because he's covering me. Do I have a voice? Y'all know I have a voice. Y'all know I do. But the submission piece, it's embedded in me. And I just feel like I'm going to help him be the best version of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll automatically, that's going to happen if he's my person. I'm going to know he wants me to be my best friend. It hasn't worked out quite very well in the past for me, but we still going to go with that.
I got
I've asked that piece about the relationship. I had another question. Is everybody here single?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, to the two yeses. Because somebody told me if you're dating somebody, you're not married to them, you aren't single. But you don't have a wedding ring. So I'm trying to figure out. Is you what's that? I don't understand. Y'all help me.
So let me say it let me say it the way I would say it. You call your situation whatever you want to call your situation. uh, you know, Mother Pearl might say, if you ain't got a ring, you single until you're married, right? Um, whatever works for you is what you call your situation. That's what I'll leave it there.
JD.
Um, I feel like I'm in the hot seat, but
You are.
but I feel like my idea. I look at dating a little old school. I look at it as courting with the end result being marriage. So when I go into it, I know some people just date for fun, so they may feel like they're single until they're married. But when I go into it, I'm looking at it as a test or trial run to see if this person has husband characteristics. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that he's looking at me in the same to see if I have wifely characteristics. And if we do not align, we can say, hey, it's not that you're a bad person. It's just that you're not a fit for me because my end goal is to be married.
Okay. Trey.
I used to believe that I was single until I looked behind and saw all the broken hearts because they were dating with intention and I was only in it for the attention. So I had to reevaluate my stance on that. So now I truly do believe in allowing a person, a woman, to know my intentions as well as my attention. So I kind of changed from that. Other than that, I think the end goal is to be a husband, and so that's where my angle is to go through those steps like Ms. Bellamy was talking about to see. I equate it to this. I went to the store, I looked for a pair of Jordans. They had a 15 and an 8. Wasn't nothing wrong with the shoes, wasn't no wrong with my foot, but it just wasn't a good fit. So that's what I had to say. I'm gonna leave them right there so I can get the right fit. So that's my take on it.
All right, Marcus is here. I'm glad to see you, my friend.
How's it
How
going?
are you?
How is it going? Thank you for having me. Sorry I'm late, everyone. I had my links messed up.
That is all right. Marcus, we haven't really gotten far. I'd like for you to tell us who you are and where they can find you, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, I'm Marcus Norman. I'm a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, cannabis dispensary business owner, and venture capitalist. So I do a lot of different things, to say the least. You can find me on all social media platforms either by my name, Marcus Norman, or The Gentleman. I have a podcast, just like a great podcast like Miss Hutchinson has, and it's called Gentleman Style Podcast. So look for the big microphone there.
Okay, question. Our first question was, what is a relationship?
A relationship is where two people agree to date each other, and with the end goal being marriage.
That's what just about every one of us said. So he came in at the right time. But let me say hello to all my folks on. Shelly's on, Rose on, Rodney's on, Anita's on, Mother Francine's on. We got folk popping on everywhere. I appreciate everybody for coming on tonight. I love you guys. We could not go into the topic until we defined a few things. Next thing, to each one of y'all, what is love? Yeah, we going there tonight.
Love is it's whatever those two people feel it to be, right? Everybody's different, everybody's built differently, and love looks different from person to person. And so love is what your partner needs in that specific moment in time, right? Because as we go through life, love changes. Love ebbs and flows like everything else. And so the love that you love your wife with in the time when you met her is probably going to look very different from the love that she requires when she's carrying that child, right? And that love needs to be flexible, it needs to be tender, it needs to ebb and flow as your relationship ebb and flow. So love is flexible. Love is kind. Love is mature, and it's can be plausible. It can be mended and it can be stretched as necessary.
Okay, Ben, come on.
Um, Love to me is the ability to give of yourself without expecting anything in return.
Ooh,
The moment you expect something from somebody else, it is no longer love. So my love, if love has a contingency on it, if I love you because of this, the moment that leaves, then it's no longer love. It was what it was. It was not love. So if I give of you, give of myself to you, I have any expectation of anything coming back, it is not love. And I think the problem with most of us is that we have never experienced love. We've experienced romance and we call it love. And as a result of that, we got a whole many, like I've been married and I'm now no longer married, but I still love my ex-wife because love is a being. I don't expect her to love me back, but I still love her. So I think that's the problem with most of us is that we get into a place where we have an expectation in return and we try to call it love, but it's not love. So the ability to give of myself and not expect anything in return.
okay, Jadia.
Well, these were so many great answers, and I totally agree. I love what Marcus said about love being flexible. And I love what Ben said as well as giving of yourself without expecting anything in return. But I also want to just add that I believe also love is the ability to forgive, right? Because in anything with people, I feel when you truly love someone, because everyone, like they say, is going to hurt you. That's just inevitable because we're all human. But a lot of times we can hold grudges, right? But when you truly love someone, you extend mercy to them. Because to me, true love, to truly understand how to love is to allow God to love on you so that you can use that to love on yourself and so that you can exemplify and do that to other people in the same way, which is to be merciful, is to be gracious, is to be forgiving, is to understand that sometimes you may not get it right, but I'm still right here with you. We can talk about it. We're going to make it through. That to me is love.
Okay, Trey.
I like all those answers. For me, it was a little different. Love for me wasn't about anyone else. There was nobody else in the picture. I had to learn how to love me in the right way before I could ever love anybody else.
Right.
So all the things that I was expected to give to others, I needed to start and learn how to give them to myself. Grace, mercy, understanding. So that way, when I stepped into the arena of love, I was fully equipped with showing her how to love me because I know how I needed to be loved. For so many years, I did not know that. I did not know that I needed to be loved in a certain kind of way. So for me, love is giving me everything that I can one day give another. So that's what love to me is.
I loved everything that everybody has a different perspective, and that is the purpose of this. Love to me, I really don't know what it looks like anymore. And that
That's-
has been
That's very honest.
yeah, painful, but I'm that canvas that somebody's putting a brush on, and I'm just waiting for the picture to be painted. I love my children. I love them as children. I love them as adults. I love ministry. But when that piece about with the man and woman thing, I don't know what that looks like anymore. And I gotta stop beating myself up because I don't know what it is.
I
I'm
think
giving my own self some grace.
yeah. I think
So-
expectations is not. I think people having expectations isn't wrong. Jesus, God Himself, has expectations of us. He left us with His commandments to follow. So loving someone and having expectations of them is not a bad thing. And I don't think we should be loving people without expectations, right? You should have expectations, and there's nothing wrong with having expectations. It's not a bad thing to expect love in return. Because you need to be poured into. All of us need to be poured into just as much as we pour into others. You can love your children, right? And you'll never stop loving your children. But when you have expectations of your children, and when they fall short of that expectation, there's consequences, there's repercussions. Doesn't mean you do not love them. Right? But there's consequences for their actions. People oftentimes get the mistake of, oh, anything that good happens in my life is God, and anything that bad must be the devil. We also serve a God of wrath, right? And so He punishes us and He still loves us, right? He's destroyed entire cities because we fell short of His expectations. So having expectations and loving someone can be synonymous, and they can go hand in hand. We shouldn't be loving people without expectations and without receiving things in return.
Well,
Let me give a little pushback to that.
come on.
And I do appreciate that, Marcus. But the same God that you speak of does not have an expectation. He has choice. He gives us free will to serve Him in that capacity. So regardless of whether or not, like, having consequences is not synonymous with having love. He gives us the choice to be able to operate in that capacity to serve Him in that way. But He doesn't, he doesn't, like love does not say, oh, because you didn't serve me this way, I'm going to wrap the consequences of doing the wrong things. Like I grew up, I'm old school, just like everybody on this, well, maybe not JD, but everybody on the panel. Right, so the whipping was not necessarily because they didn't love me, it was just a consequence of that action. So I don't know if I would necessarily equate love with having to deal with the consequences of a bad action.
If you do not do what God says, you will go to hell. There's a very big consequence for falling short of His expectations. If
What
you
is
do
that
not,
love?
do you think if He sends you to hell because you were disobedient, if you beat your kids, do you not love them anymore? There are consequences for your actions, right?
But
He has an expectation. He has commandments of us. The same way you should as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. If I don't do what God tells me to do, if I don't move in this season the way He wants me to, there are consequences for my actions. And my consequence, if I don't receive what I'm expecting, then you don't get to be around me in my space. You don't get to come into the kingdom of heaven. You don't get to bask in my glory. You don't get to fulfill the destiny and He gave you free choice. I am giving you the free choice to be here or not.
Okay.
Right?
So now same deal, right?
Sure.
So same situation. But He still loves you.
Yes.
It's the same Bible that gives you the wrath, right?
Yes.
As wherever you lay your head at, there I'll be with you. So if you make your bed in hell, I'm going to be right there beside you. So even if I have the consequences that put me in the place, I'm still loving you. I'm still right here with you. The love does not negate the circumstances, the consequences. And I think that's the part that I'm a little bit stuck on. Just because I got a whooping don't mean my mom don't love me. I still have to deal with it.
Yes.
So I don't want, like, we can do wrong and still be loved. We can do wrong in a relationship and still be loved. Even if I still love my ex-wife, I didn't pull my love from her. I distanced my body from her.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not pull my love from her. My love is still there towards her.
Mhm.
I had to remove myself from the situation. And I think that's where, I think that's the part that I'm like, give me a little bit of pushback on. I'm not saying, look, it's just dialogue, healthy dialogue.
Right.
But I just like, when God, regardless, his love never stops.
Agreed.
The situation that we put ourselves in may put us in a bad situation. We go through tumult, we go through turmoil, we go through travail. That's why he says, I'm going to make your feet like hinds feet. So when you're going through the travail, the rough side of the mountain, because most of the time we put him in he's prepared our feet to be able to do something. Or we're planted like a tree by the rivers of water because we're going to be swift and back and forth in the middle of storms that most of the time we put ourselves in. But he still loves us regardless.
Absolutely. If I'm a crackhead and I'm using crack and I'm your friend and you love me, if you tell me that, Marcus, you need to go to rehab, is that love or not love?
That's love.
It's love because you told me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, the choice is still mine to go to rehab, right? That is always my choice. Rehab would be my hell, right? Because I enjoy my fix, even though it's bad for me. But you telling me and having an expectation of me to do better and get off this drug is still love. Whether I'm in rehab or whether I continue to use crack. You separating yourself was your choice as well as hers, right? And you still love her. Agreed. God will still love you in heaven or hell. But that was all your choice. I'm giving you the choice. I'm giving my potential partner the choice to meet the expectations that I have for a healthy, nurturing, and God-filled relationship. Expectations are always necessary, and they're always there, and it's not wrong to have them. You separated yourself because you had expectations that whatever you wanted to meet, you weren't meeting, she wasn't meeting, whatever. That was your choice. But there were still expectations involved, and it's okay to have them. Men and women are allowed to have expectations and desires and wants. That is allowed because we all need to be poured into differently.
Now you understand why I have all four of you on here. And people are going to look crazy because they loving it. And I'm enjoying everybody's opinion. And I want everybody to know this watching. This is very respectful. You don't have to agree on every point.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both of these gentlemen respectfully made their point. Yeah. I think we did all that, y'all. Okay. We're going into our next question. We are going to get to the topic, but we got to undig all these layers. And that's the purpose of the conversation before the question. Why do you choose the person you choose? Trey gonna go first.
Why did I choose the person I chose?
Oh my.
I think in all fairness, before I became healed, I really didn't do too much choosing. I just was being chose, and I was okay with that. So when you start choosing, you start setting expectations within yourself. And once I started doing that, I started to find someone that led with understanding. That was one of my most important things. I needed a woman that was that was her main thing. She was going to lead with understanding. Because for so long, I was used to being chose. So I didn't really care about being loved because I was used to being chosen. And once I realized, oh, these are relationships that are not working out, I need to revamp. So I started working on becoming healed. And once I did that, I said, you know what? Now I feel more competent that I could make a choice in who I want. So I just looking to choose someone that would do the things that I could not do good, could better me, could pour into me, could breathe life into me as a man. So those are some of the traits that I look for when I am choosing.
JD?
Well, for me, I look for someone who brings me peace, right? Because a lot of things can be chaotic. Some people thrive in confusion and drama. And if someone can keep me peaceful, like, because I have a tendency, because you probably can't tell it, but I'm very bubbly, which means I can be, and I need somebody that can bring me down a couple notches at any time. I also look for someone who is my friend first. Someone who is truly my friend, because like Marcus said earlier, love changes. And sometimes you might not like the person you're with, but if you're their friend, right, then the friendship can carry you through when the romance sometimes may be a little iffy.
Come on, Ben.
I'm a big proponent of you attract your level of healing. And when you are not healing or having not healed, you end up selecting someone at a state where you are. So I cannot, like, the person whom I would choose today is nowhere near the person I chose 10 years ago. Because the Ben is a more healed person today. And so now I attract those who match with my level of healing today. So I think oftentimes we end up selecting someone, we select where we are. So I married my ex-wife, we trauma bonded. I was attracted to her through trauma. I had shared trauma and we connected on that. The moment I started to heal, our connection began to sever because I'm going here and she's not going the same direction I was going in. So I think that's the problem with a lot of us is that we're not doing our self-work. And because we don't do self-work, we end up selecting someone in the state that we're all. And the moment that you work on you realize that there's a separation between where you're going and the person that you're with.
Come on, Marcus.
I am not with anyone, but I'll speak on the last one a little bit. The last person I was with, I chose them because I thought we had similar values. I look for similar values, similar spirits, similar goals, and did it with the intention to marry, and stepped away from it because I realized early on that we weren't in who we said we weren't being who we said we were initially, and we weren't no longer compatible. And that's what Miss Jadea said earlier is like you grow and you change and you develop in your relationship. What I do, what I believe in is when you realize that you're separating and you're no longer of like minds and you're no longer equally yoked. Not necessarily, I'm talking from a relationship, y'all, not marriage, right? You gotta work on your marriage, but relationship wise, you should walk away, right? And so that's what happened. That's what connected us, and that's what divided us. We were no longer compatible. We realized early on that we were not supposed to be together.
Can I say to Mark real
Please.
quick? So I love that. I say often I use I use this all the time when I'm talking about people with relationship, is that the unequally yoked. A lot of times we focus on that, especially when you grow up in church, and we only focus on saint and sinner. The problem is the value system. Like it's more of a value. If my values don't align with your values, as you were saying, then it is a yoke, it is an ox being yoked to a donkey, right? An ox is going to follow the shepherd in whatever direction it's going in. But the donkey is going to do whatever in the world the donkey want to do. So as the shepherd is trying to lead one way, the donkey coming this way trying to do whatever, it's not going to be equally yoked. And if we are unequally yoked with anyone, whether you are in a marriage, whether you're in a relationship, you need to get out of that unequal yoke because it's going to do nothing but destroy the situation that you're in. I totally agree with that. And most people miss they miss the message and what an unequal yoke actually is in a relationship because because we both go to the same church, but your values is way off. And because your values is off, it don't matter what church you go to, and y'all can go to the same church singing the same choir. If your values is off, it does not matter. It's not going to be a fruitful relationship.
That's why we're encouraged to get with our partners, right? One thing that I practice when I leave church, if I'm with someone, is, hey, I interpreted today's message as this. How did you receive it? To see that we're pulling from the same well, right? And so even though we're in church, we're in the same church, we still need to come together as a couple to make sure that our interpretation of that word of the Bible, of the same book, is because that's all it is. It's interpretation. How you receive message based off of how healed you are can look very different from person to person. So we need to do the work, and that's what church people don't do sometimes. Is we come to church and we think, okay, check in a box, I went to church. No, you still have to do the work at home. You still have to take that word and internalize it in your relationship, in your marriage, to make sure that you guys both have an understanding of what that word means to you.
That's why Jesus is a whole lot of people's boyfriends and girlfriends.
For sure.
They want him to do all the goddamn work. No.
Absolutely. Well, not even Jesus, our pastor, right? We put our pastors sometimes on pedestals, like, oh, pastor has said this, so you you get the ugly eye from your partner. You hear what he said, you hear what pastor just said about you, and you guilt tripping me, but that's not the same message I heard. I thought he was talking about you, and so we need to take that time outside of our pastors and our leaders, to make sure that we have an understanding and we're still on the same page.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody's enjoying conversation. Some of my children have jumped on. Jessica, Bishop Jones has jumped on. Rosalind's jumped on. Linda, my auntie's on. Oh my goodness, they enjoying. And look, this has been real easy for me because y'all doing what I knew you would do. Exactly. Now we're gonna jump in. We got the ground, the foundation of the house built is real solid from the conversation. I'm just gonna throw this out there. If it's my boyfriend, is he responsible for helping me pay my bills?
No. He is not. If he wants to, he can. It's choice. It goes back to choice. I think a man that invests. Let me rephrase this. I think a partner that invests in their partner is a choice. If you choose to invest in your partner, that's completely on you, and I don't think that's wrong. I've invested a lot, and I'm not talking monetarily. I've invested a lot into a partnership. But that was my choice because I'm a businessman, and I always refer to a famous quote that I heard. and it's a owner talking to one of his executives, and he's saying, "Hey, why should we spend all this money on training people and training staff and paying for all this education and helping them get their degrees and get educated, and they leave us?" And the leader comes back and says, "Well, what if we don't invest in them and they stay?"
Mm.
So I have that same mindset in relationships. Me not investing in my partner
Mhm.
and she stays is not going to help us move forward.
Mhm.
And so the choice is always yours.
Correct.
Use conviction and wisdom and godly wisdom when you choose to do it, right? Because there are takers out in this world.
Woo.
But
Yeah, those are-
there are takers out in this world
Mhm.
that don't have a pause button, right?
Mhm.
So when you do it, I think the outcome is better off. The outcome is better off.
Can I jump in? Let me,
Anybody who wants to
love-
jump in?
I love what Marcus is saying. I love what he's saying. I agree with an approach, though.
Mhm.
So, is it the responsibility? No. I'm not going to ever say it's the responsibility. However, I framed a question several months ago on as part of like the podcast leading something leading up to one of my podcasts, and I asked the question: should girlfriends submit to boyfriends?
Mhm.
I phrased that question, and the reason why I framed that question is because everybody said no is for the wife, right? The wife submits. But
Mhm.
my pushback to everyone that I asked, and nobody responded to me, was how does someone learn how to be submissive if they never are submissive? It's a training process, as Marcus was talking about. Like while you're in girlfriend state, you learn how to be submissive to the husband. Now, it's a whole lot more to that. Miss Claudette, you know me, you didn't have it's more to that, but it's a process. It's a training process. And I think that it's a learning process, I should say. So you learn about the person during the dating process to figure out if this is husband and or wife. So there's things that you do during the process that shows. Now, me, I was dating my wife before she became my wife. Did I slide in and start taking care of some bills and stuff? Yeah, I did. It wasn't. It wasn't because it was a mandate. It was because this is what it is that I wanted to do. As investing. So it's also a training process. I'm training her to show her what it is that I can do, what type of person I can be, and it's training on what it is that she thinks, and I'm learning from her in different perspectives. So there, it's not a mandate. I will never say it's a mandate, ever say that it's a mandate. But if we are going to essentially play house, to get to house, you got to play house.
Exactly. That's my whole point right there. That's my point.
Mhm.
Come on, Trey.
What you just said about girlfriend submitting to boyfriend. I never use wifey terms or husbandly terms when it's not that situation. So if a woman is expected to respect a man, yes, it could be girlfriend and boyfriend. I will remove the word submit. Should a boyfriend ever have to pay a girlfriend bills? If he's living in the house with his girlfriend,
Mhm.
then I don't want him to come into my man's Monday and say, hey, I'm just her boyfriend, so I'm not going to pay the bills.
Mhm.
But if you're living under that situation, you were saying, if you're playing house, then you have to, certain responsibility come with that. So I don't want to take the accountability off of him if he's living in the house. I don't want to say that a boyfriend should never pay his girlfriend's bills. It's just a circumstance situation that he's in with that particular woman.
Mhm.
Because it could be a cell phone she got for him, but it's on her in her name. So it's her bill, but he's using it. So I would never want him to say, well, I'm not her husband, so I shouldn't. No. I think personally, with me, if going to play house, and I'm just going to play house. It's going to be what it is. If I'm not going to marry that woman, then I still can't say, well, I'm not going to pay your bills or help you pay these bills because I'm not your husband. But I'm living as your husband. I'm doing your things that your husband would do. So no, I wouldn't say that. I think the situation would dictate which version of me that happened. That's what my personal opinion would be.
Come on, JD.
Okay, well, I heard everyone. And as a woman that's on here, I like to think that honestly, when a woman sees that a man has the ability to lead, she naturally submits, right? I'm saying from what I have seen on my end as a woman, right? When I feel that I'm not safe and I'm not secure, then I'm not going to, because you may lead me over a cliff. I can't even believe in your leadership. And then that is something that you have to think. If you can't believe in a person's leadership, then you're not going to follow them.
You
And
have
then
an
a lot of
example?
people,
You have an example?
yes, I do. Because I'm very open. Like when I was married, because I've been married before, right? My husband at the time, he did not want to lead. He wanted to take a back seat. So everything fell on me, right? So in that perspective, I didn't feel safe to just naturally submit because I had to lead us out of a lot of situations. But then coming out of that and then getting back into the dating realm, right? And like whom I'm currently dating, he is a natural leader. He takes initiative. You get what I'm saying? Like a lot of things that may worry me, he's already figured it out. It's not like, hey, JD, you figure it out. It's like, hey, here are some solutions that I have for you. And then I'm naturally going to take in consideration what he's doing. I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to give him respect. Because a lot of men that say women don't submit, a lot of them, the issue is not with the submission, it's the lack of respect. Because what I've learned from men I've dealt with is that respect is their love language. And sometimes a woman cannot respect a man that she sees as a son. Because anytime that a woman has to lead a man, that is like her seeing him as her raising one of her children. Okay? They may not say it, but I'm saying it because I'm a woman and I talk to other women.
Okay.
I don't know, Marcus. Did you want to say? Because I wouldn't mind jumping in.
I got stuff to say, but
No,
you
I'm
can
gonna go ahead.
You
Go
can-
ahead, Mr. Marcus. You looked first. I'm gonna go ahead.
Come on, Mark.
Did Miss Judea, did he do that on his own, or did you communicate to him?
No, I did communicate because I believe that when you
The
get
man
into
that does it on his own now, the man that does for you now.
he did that on his own.
Did you do that? But you did it in your marriage. You communicated to him in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Did you communicate to him before you got married?
Yes.
What changed?
I think what changed was, as Trey was saying earlier, and even as Ben, you attract at the level that you are healed, right? Because in that sense, I didn't, Marcus can admit that I didn't have expectations, I didn't have standards, and I did not have deal breakers. But what I learned in that process was that I needed to have expectations, I needed to have standards, and I needed to have deal breakers. So what changed for me was what I was willing to accept, what I thought was okay. And I found that some people don't have that. And I'm okay in saying that I didn't have that at first.
So he didn't lead prior to marriage.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But that's what you wanted.
Yes.
And then you
But
married him knowing that he wasn't a leader.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can
That's
I
all I got,
piggyback
Your
off of
Honor.
that? 'Cause
That's all I got. I just wanted to.
That's exactly what I heard, Marcus.
I wanted more. I wanted to dig more into it because that helps us all, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I don't have any caveats to that. I just wanted to hear it and it to be said. And thank you, Miss Judea, for your truth, your honesty, because that's what's needed today.
Yep.
We need
That's
honesty.
it. The honesty piece is the biggest piece because this is a problem with most of us. This is what most of us end up with. We turn around and we blame the other person for our choice. I can blame my ex-wife for everything she did. You know what happened? I chose to marry her.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we choose to be with someone in that capacity, That is not their fault. That is our fault.
Mm-hmm.
That is not their cross to bear. That is our cross to bear. So Maya Angelou says that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. So we were shown who they were before we decided to marry them, and still married them. That is not their problem. That is our problem.
Mm-hmm.
I also like what you said, JD, with the standards. And this is something for all of us when we're in this relationship deal. You do not get your goals, you get your standards.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your goal is not what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with the standard that you set for yourself. If your standard is low, that is exactly what you are going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a higher standard, you have to elevate your standards above where you are. Healing. When I heal, my standards elevate. So what happens a lot of times is we're in relationships with people who are below, they are below our goals, but that's exactly where our standard is. So we select someone at our standard level right where we are. When we grow, our standard should grow, our healing grows, our standard grow, and we select better in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next question. And I got questions upon questions. Let me pick which one I want. Okay. When you're married, because I believe my person will help me. But when Marcus was talking about if we're dating, you're talking about investing, and I'm a business person, let's get something on paper when we're talking about investing. If you're investing in me, let's do a contract. Let's say, because if this breaks the relationship, you're not my person. I want it on paper to say, you gave me $20,000. You invested in my business. This is what you're going to get. And I've done this with a family member. Told them we have to have a contract. And they flipped out. The relationship was broken for many, many years, but I still use that. I love stuff on paper, and I just love clarity. So in this conversation, my boyfriend does not have to help me. He can if he would like to, but let's have something contractual. If it's money, there's money's involved. And I'm talking about big money. I ain't talking about my cell phone bill. You buying me a car. If you buy a car, my name has to be on it, and you don't need to be on the loan. Your name can't be on it, so you can come back and get it when you're mad. Because I've been there. So clarity is everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you're married, do everybody share the same account? Bank account.
So let me say it like this. First, I'm gonna say no. No. You don't have to share everything. So now for all of the religious folk, right? Genesis 2:24 talks about how a man leaves his parents, marry one woman, and they become one, right? Everything becomes one. So got it. Okay, that's going to touch your religious, I think that every person should have their own situation. Like for instance, me and you married, Claudette. What if I want to buy you a ring and I don't want you to know about it, but we only got one account, right? So every dollar I spent out of this account, guess what? Or think about it from this perspective. What if I am very good with money and you're not?
Mm-hmm.
And you decide, okay, I'm about to go spend this, and then you just spent the bills. Or vice versa. Maybe you're extremely well with money and I'm not good with money.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, you know what? I'm about to go spend $300 on an Xbox that I don't play but twice a year, whatever. So I think I'm not one that says one account and then everybody's money flows into this one account. And that's not where I am. I think that it's okay for you to have your own. I think it's okay for every person to have their own within the situation. Should you have a joint account? You should have monies that flow in there together that does whatever comes through this one. But that does not absolve you from having your own, him or her having their own, and they keep a piece of whatever for themselves, be it for to do something with you or just something for them to have for themselves. Like a relationship, a real relationship should be two circles crossing each other. The relationship is the little piece, the little football shape that both of the two circles combine, right? But I'm still separate, standing alone. You still separate, standing alone, and the relationship is the point that's together.
What if your wife don't work?
Huh?
What if your wife don't work?
That's a whole nother discussion. A whole nother discussion. I got some notes on that. Whole nother discussion, Marcus. But I still think that even if she does not work, she should still have her own account, because that's going to talk about a Proverbs 31 woman. She might not walk up out the house, but she work in and make some money. Let me tell you something. I have been a man 2 times for over a year where I was married and my wife did not work.
And y'all still had separate accounts?
She had her separate account, and the reason why she had her separate account is because this is one thing I know about women, and especially black women, okay, especially black women. They don't have money coming in from somewhere, somehow, whether they punch a clock or not.
Yes, sir.
And so, as a result, yeah, her own account.
Anybody else?
I've been blessed enough to at one time have a wife that was a housewife. She took care of the baby. Now I'm gonna tell you, I couldn't pay her enough, to be honest. So, because I stayed home with the baby for about 6 weeks, and I tell you, that's a real job. So I agree with what he was saying. There's nothing wrong with having your own individual account, even if it is money coming off of where I'm working and it's going into your account. I don't want you to spend that money on the household. I'm not giving you money to spend on the household. We have a middle account that we can take part of that money and part of this money, and we can put it together to take care of the household, items, the baby, or whatever. But I do think that everyone needs their own individual account, even if she did not work. So I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't dare want to take control of a marriage financially, and whether she's making little money or she's not making any money, I wouldn't want to ever take control of my marriage financially like that.
Come on, Marcus. You look like you just burned it.
I'm not burning. I was hoping you'd pass over me. So I don't mind one account because I'm open to prenups. So a joint account doesn't matter if there's a prenup involved. So I don't mind the joint accounts. I've done it, right? I've done the joint bank accounts. In my wisdom now, I am very much bringing up prenups. I think men and women should bring up prenups in marriage, even if it doesn't lead anywhere. So a joint account doesn't matter if a prenup's involved. But I am a huge advocate for prenuptial agreements, so joint accounts don't matter to me.
This conversation is going way better than I thought it would. I'm just like,
You didn't even ask the question yet.
my thought on, well, I'm gonna be, when I was married twice. Both of my husbands took their lunch money, took their gas money. They gave me all the money. I paid all the bills. because they knew that's what I was going to do. They had that level of trust. And even today, if I see them, they still have that level of trust. I was going to pay the bills. Wasn't that kind of girl. I didn't need to shop. Wasn't that kind of girl. I like the lights being on. I like gas in the car. I love food falling out the refrigerator. And I like the internet. I just love it. I love security. And they knew. And when I didn't work, they still did it. So I was a girl that was taking care of financial. Emotional piece was a huge thing that I didn't get, but money wasn't the issue. If I was to marry again, I don't know what it would look like. Again, I have no idea what it would look like. But prenups, that's a whole nother conversation. You coming back, Marcus? And now, because I'm building something, and I want my spouse to be a part, but that spouse has to put some sweat in it.
Yes.
And if you come into the marriage and I'm already a millionaire and you're a thousandaire, does that mean I don't love you because I have a prenup? So we know this is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But wait a minute though, Miss Claudette.
Come on, Ben.
Totally
Since we was
aligns
married.
with the question for tonight. just so you know. Okay.
Okay, let's ask the question. We put the foundation, the walls up, we put windows in, but the question, now we're gonna put the roof on the house.
Mhm.
If a man cannot pay all the bills, is he a provider? And I'm gonna go to Jadia first on.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Got him.
I was like, please don't let her come to me first. And she did.
You was too quiet, JD. That's why.
Honestly, I think that one of the things, this is just my opinion, that we always think that for a man to provide, it has to always be related to finances, right? But one of the things that my granny always taught me is that money situations and statuses can change, but character cannot. Okay, so if a man may not be in the best financial situation, but he's providing for you mentally, spiritually, he's encouraging you, he's pouring into you, because there are some men, there are some women that have built businesses, and the man may not have had the money, but he was in there putting labels on products and pouring the products, mixing the products, and helping her build her empire, so that when she got to a good position, you know what I mean, he can go and do his thing. Now, I'm not saying that works for everybody, but I'm saying that that's how I view it. Now, I do want to put just want to put something out there. I'm not telling the women to go out there and find them what I call a Bob the Builder project. That's not what I'm saying. Use your discernment. And in any situation, when you come to that, I say take it to God and ask him that it is not in alignment with his will for him to remove it out of your life. Okay?
Come on, Trey.
I've dated women who would say no to that question. I've dated women who would say yes to that question. The better relationships I had were the ones that said that yes, he still can be considered provider. The reason being was because I never had a conflict with them about leadership of the relationship. So there was never a gender role crisis between the women that said if he can pay the bills financially, right? The problem with the ones who said that no, he would not be considered a provider was that I did provide in other ways, but there was always that tug of war on who should lead the relationship. So both sides had great women, and it's nothing to knock the women; it's just their choices. But I think that the better relationships I had were with women who did not put a dollar sign on provision.
I'm gonna jump in here before I let anybody answer. Trey, you said, and this tickled my fancy, there was no conflict in leadership. So that's why it may have been a little easier. Come on, help me out. When you said a conflict in leadership, help me with your thought.
I have this PhD. I have this 17,000 square foot house. I have this 6-car garage. I have the
The
so
women did.
huh?
The
He
women
said the
had those
women
things.
had
Yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly. So to them, if you ask that particular group of women, they would say if he can't pay all the bills, no, he's not a provider. So the conflict came in is it's 10 o'clock at night and you want to go put gas in your G-Wagon, 10 o'clock at night, and I say, nah, that ain't gonna happen tonight. We'll get some gas in the morning, or else I'll come over there and I'll take it and put some gas in it. Well, it's my truck. I'm a grown woman. You see what I'm saying? Things like that keep in play. Now, the leadership with that same particular woman over here would be like, okay, if that's, I'm not going to even worry about going. I'll wait till the morning, or I'll wait till you come over here and do it. That was it. It was just that simple. But to the woman on this side, there was a conflict in leadership because they had gotten to a certain level and they felt like leadership came with the money sign attached to it that could provide for them all the way financially, even though they could provide for themselves greatly. And the reason why those relationships did have a chance because I did provide other things for them. So we ended that like that, but it was better fit for me to find a woman that could take care of herself, and I chose to take care of her versus one who could take care of herself. And if I could not pay $18,000 a month on her mortgage, I would be considered, secondhand. So that's why I say it was easier for me to deal with a woman that my financial status had zero to do with my leadership ability or being a provider.
Come on, Marcus.
Hmm. No, a man is still a man. A man is still a man, whether he provides monetarily or not. His role is different. I wouldn't use the term provider, but a man is still deserving of respect. He's deserving of love. He's still deserving of admiration. He's still deserving of all the things that a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship looks like. He may not be the provider, but just like Mr. Trey said, Mr. Trey provided and led in other areas that didn't equivocate to money. And so I'll switch your question a little bit. A man is still a man, irregardless of what he contributes monetarily. A man is still deserving of all the love and admiration and respect that the world can give him and that his partner can give him. He may not be providing financially, whether it be temporarily or that's just the reason for your relationships. Just like Ms. Jadea said, there's relationships where women are making more than their husbands, and their husbands are they're homemakers, right? They're the ones picking up the kids. They're going to soccer practice. They're picking up the dry cleaning, dropping off the dry cleaning. That man is still a man, regardless of what he provides. And so a man is still a man. He may not be providing in financially, but a man is still a man.
Come on, Ben.
So I love what everyone has said. I agree totally. So I love how, first let me say this. I totally thought I was going to be left on an island now with this conversation, just for the record, okay? With that being said, the internet is going to have you believe that if a man does not pay all the bills, he is not a provider. So the question is, can a man still be a provider if he does not pay all the bills? Provider. Look at the word. Pro. Break the word down, very simple. Pro in the Latin or the Greek, whichever one, means before. V-Day, short for video or vision, means to see. So provision is a measure taken beforehand to deal with the need or a contingency. That's what provision is. So we sit around here and we talk about people, men who are not providers, and we try to make it financial. But if a man is in a home and he is providing spiritual leadership, as Trey was talking about, financial leadership, emotional leadership. Like that is provision. There is not a financial component on being able to recognize a need before it comes about. We stop and we sit here and be like, because the internet says, oh, well, if a man don't pay all the bills, he's not a provider. If a man don't pay all the bills, first of all, let's get one thing understood. If a man pays all the bills, but cannot provide any leadership in the home, he is an accountant. He is not a provider. Okay? So there is a difference between what provision is and what an accountant is. And too often we conflate the two. We say because he doesn't pay the bills, he's not a provider. There's a whole bunch of men who can afford to be an accountant in the home and can give two shakes about you, could two shakes about your children, give two shakes about the state and the affair of your home. A man is a provider when he has a connection with the Most High and can move there throughout the home and provide the things necessary before they come about. A measure taken before with a need or contingency. Provision. Please stop listening to the internet and saying a man who can't pay all your bills is not a provider, because that ain't true. He is an accountant if he can't do anything more than pay bills. I think that's to me biggest deal. Provide, see before. If he's not invested in the home, the whole you. If a man marries a wife, he finds a treasure. He buries the treasure, and he goes back and he buys the field that the treasure was buried in. So if you're a woman and you have children and he don't care about your children, even though he pays bills, he is not a provider. Right? Like these is all same book, right? Same book. It's all in there. So if y'all going to use the scriptures as that, then make sure that you use it right. If he marries you and he don't love your children, or he can't see the need of your children before they come up, if he can't, but flip side, because there's always a flip. Now, you also as the woman, because we're only going to talk about, man in this particular question. So woman also has to be able to submit herself to his provision. So just because you have the money to pay every bill in the house, if he makes less money than you, but he's handling or doing what, like provision is not necessarily mess of money. You got to be able to submit to his provision. And that's also another conversation. I ain't gonna dig into that one a little bit, but it's two-way front. But for the man who don't pay all the bills, I can tell you right now, if he is providing the leadership in the home that is necessary, the spiritual guidance that is necessary, the emotional acuity that is necessary, that's not all financial. Get yourself a man who has that ability to give provision, and quit worrying about finding an account.
Okay, so I loved everything. Folks, hello, Pastor Karen. How are you? Miss Hawkins, how are you? Miss Alexander, how are you? Folks, is popping a question. So, if he's only paying the bills and he's not providing emotionally, spiritually, leadership, he doesn't give you security, and I'm not just talking about money. So he's not a man then?
Look, who we select is our problem.
Mm-hmm.
What I said, you get your goals, you get your standard, not your goal. So if I create a standard where Ray and JJ can come into my house and sit and play PlayStation all day and don't work, that's the standard you created for yourself. I'm not going to say he's less than a man. What I'm going to say is that's the standard you selected. You get your standard. You don't get your goals. If your goal is a man who can provide those things, however, your standard is less than that, then you have chosen at your standard. I'm never going to denigrate men. Don't get me wrong. Men and women. I told you all day, I'm an equal opportunity person. We all need to get better. Let's get that understood. But when you select wrong, I'm always going to also come back to accountability. We got to make sure we select properly. We cannot allow for our loins to be our God.
Okay.
Okay? We can't. So the problem is either our loins or our loneliness chooses the persons that we're with. That's the problem. And so because he loved you good or she loved you good, and then we select wrong, or because I really just want to be with somebody, we select wrong, that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. If he play PlayStation all day and he has no desire to go out and get a job, it's one thing if he's not working, as JD was talking about, but he was like, listen, babe, you got the next big, you about to be on Shark Tank, and I'm gonna sit here and do this, that, and the third. I'm gonna sit here and try to help build your business. I'm gonna help do all that type of stuff. Okay, cool. I'm investing in you. I'm investing my time in you. That's different than the man who's in a relationship with you and y'all working out the bills on a 60-40, 50-50, 40-60, whatever situation it is. Those are different conversations. Every person who's in a relationship, whatever works in your house, works in your house. But I'm not going to tell a woman who makes $100,000 a year that she cannot live her lifestyle because she's with a man who makes 40. Mm-hmm. If you decide that you want to be with that particular person, y'all work together on the way that the bills is paid. Plain and simple. But that does not make him less than a provider. He makes less money than you. Okay, cool. But can he also provide leadership in the home? Can he also give you love and respect and admiration? Can he also take care of your family? Can he also anticipate the needs of your family? Can he also get a prayer through? Like, all that's provision. Provision is not solely and strictly financial. Provision is all encompassing on the needs of what's in the house.
Come on, Marcus.
A man is still a man. I'll continue to say that till the cows come home. A man is still a man. What a woman accepts into a household, or what a woman chooses to accept, that works for her is okay. It is bonkers to me if you're a woman and you're sitting there and you make six figures and you're telling men to provide for you. If men held that same standard, we would never date. Because although we are, just like Mr. Ben Price, equal, we still live in an age where wages are still split, right? There are still positions and jobs, and it's nothing like the 1800s. It's nothing like the 1900s, right, where women weren't working, right? It's nothing like that. Women are opening Fortune 500 companies. Women are CEOs, executives, leaders. They're entering workspaces that were traditionally dominated by men. What I am saying is, whether that woman makes six figures or not does not minimize my value as a man. It doesn't minimize any man's value. And if you choose to accept a man that makes less than you, then that man should be filling a need elsewhere in the home, right? He has to be. My father doesn't work anymore. My stepmother, who he's married to, they've been married for over 20 plus years, she still works. And so my father is still the leader of their home. Anytime there's a monetary decision in their home, she still goes to my father and says, how should we move in this situation? Now, when I call my father, he's picking up the dry cleaning, he's washing the cars, he's filling up the gas, he's picking up the kids, dropping them off to soccer practice, he's getting dinner ready. He's still providing value, even though he's no longer working. Right? He's still a man. And although my stepmom can foreseeably in all looks and glamour and glitz is the provider, my dad is still the head of my parents' home. And my stepmother respects that, and she will never underplay his worth or value, and she'll never undermine him when it comes to having a decision made in a whole. And it frustrates me to all end, because I'll call my father and I'll say, Dad, what do you think about this? And he'll say, go talk to my wife. And it drives me nuts, because I'll go talk to her and she's like, what did your dad say? I'm like, somebody needs to make a decision. Right? But I love that about them. I love that about them. I honor it. I respect it. They never minimize or belittle each other's values or opinions in a marriage. And that's what's missing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My. Come
I'm
on,
gonna
Trey.
interject real quick. I speak to men every Monday on Men's Monday. Iron sharpens iron, and one of the biggest challenges that I have is to get them to understand that they deserve to be loved for who they are, not for what they do. So if he gets in a situation where he's been sick, or he's had to change position at a job, or he becomes disabled, it's hard because they bought into, like Ben said, the internet version of what you're supposed to be. And that's not always the best way to look at yourself, and to try to guide them to go back into their lives and look at the fact that you are who you are, and that's the person that needs to be loved, not the person that goes out and does A, B, C, or D. Because what happens when A, B, C, or D is no longer an opportunity, or you're able to do that? So the hardest thing when you say is a man about being a provider, I truly think that's one of the hardest things that we beat ourselves up about, is that we don't really understand that we should be loved for who we are and not for what we do.
I love that. Listen, we are human. Okay? Human. We are not just man, human, just like a woman is human. So we have to respect persons, love persons as humanity. Humanity is not a thing we do. It is who we are. We are human. Respect and love me as such.
Come on, JD.
I like what everyone was saying, but I especially like how Marcus said is providing value, right? Because I think that, I feel I'm like being too, because I'm a TikTok person. I love TikTok. And if you go on TikTok, it's very big on there. They're like, hey, when you meet a man, if he can't pay your bills, honey, the lady named Sprinkle. I don't know if y'all seen her. Sprinkle. Sprinkle is teaching these women, you get with somebody, if he can't pay all your bills, honey, throw the dusty to the side. And I just think that that's how we end up with a lot of bitter women who get used and abused and discarded like trash, because these men feel like they are bought and paid for. And then I also think on the flip side, we get a lot of broken men because they tend to attract takers who take and never pour back into them. And so I think honestly that a man is still a man, whether like Marcus said, because he's still providing some type of value in the home. And like Ben said, he's still providing leadership in other areas. And I think that sometimes we have to come out of the mindset that it has to be financially, because back in the day when grandmama and them were staying at home as housewives, My grandma used to get up before dawn, cook breakfast for my granddaddy, iron all our school clothes, make breakfast. There is not enough money you could pay a person. That is a lot. That is a job by itself. You are conducting logistics for 5, sometimes 6 to 10 people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if a man is doing that, by all means, honey, have at it. Because I'm not organized. I'm not good at logistics. So I just think that somebody like that is magnificent.
Well, that's incredible, right? That's the ebb and flow of love that we talked about in the beginning, right? Being flexible and recognizing that my wife's worth or my husband's worth is entitled to what they can do monetarily, right? And investing in that marriage, right? Whether I fall off. So as a man, right? If I'm not investing in my wife when I get sick, or if I get sick, or if I become ill, or if I get hurt, and provision was on me, now everything that we built falls apart. I have a background in finance. I worked in finance for over 8 years, in all different facets: insurance, banking, financial advising. So I have a background in finance, and too many times I've seen households fall into chaos when the husband dies. The wife don't know where this money is. She don't know where it is. She sees all the deposits, right? She knows where the money coming. She sees the bank statements, and she knows there's money in the account, but she don't know where any of the money comes from. She don't know what business, what joint venture, where this money comes from, what social security check, who to call, where the insurance check is. She don't know who, because the husband provided. And so when the husband falls apart and no investment into the wife's education, her mind, her own values, right? Because she had desires and wants before we got married. And so no investment on her for the 20 plus years they've been married. And now the husband's gone. And the wife is just, it's stuck. She's stuck. She doesn't know where to go. I've met too many women have to move. I've met too many grown women that have to move back in with mom and dad because their husband died.
Or children.
With children, have to move back home with now their grandparents because she didn't do anything because she wanted a provider. And that was the principle of that was the check in the box. Oh, he provides, he pays all the bills. So when he's gone, who pays all the bills now?
Exactly. So that's the difference between an accountant and a provider, right? So I understand this wholeheartedly because my mother was exactly the same. My mom, my father bought a home, and for whatever, I don't know all the logistics of it, but when he bought this particular home, my mom was not on the mortgage. I don't know if it was her credit score or whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? She didn't make enough. So when he passed, she had no right to it. You know, so now it's like, all right, we got to refinance the home in another person's name or do it. All these other little logistical things that occurred when my father passed and my mother was without. Like, I totally understand, and I totally agree with that. Like, listen, provide. That's why I put the whole title on that. That is an accountant. That's it. That's not a partnership. And if we are in a relationship, we are in a partnership. And I mean, a partnership means we are doing everything together. It is not all financial. It has never been all financial. And it should never be all financial.
Sorry, ladies, you gotta pay bills in this relationship.
And even think about this. This is for all my religious people, all my Bible backers, right? Listen, the Proverbs 31 woman, guess what she did? She had her own money.
Own business.
She had her own business. Proverbs 31. That's what everybody. I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. You know what the Proverbs 31 woman did? She had her own money, and she took her own money and invested it back into the home Read it. I'm not making nothing up. Read the same scripture that she about to tell me about. Because if you read it and exegete the scriptures properly, it's going to tell you she took her money and invested it back in the home with her husband.
Mhm.
It's not about a man paying all the bills. If you are able to, this is every woman out here. If you're able to find a man that's going to pay all the bills and do everything this and the third, great, no problem. Whoop-de-whoop, happy for you, this and the third. Reality says inflation, cost of living. Now I'm only so this is the situation with us of color. Us of color, black women are more college educated than black men. Flat out. Numbers suggested it's realistic. More black women have college degrees. The earning potential with a college degree is $22,000 more per year than a man without college degree. So there's more women on the earth than men. Guess what that means? More likely, you make more than the man you're dealing with.
Mhm.
Facts. I'm not creating no new drama or anything like that. The facts are more than likely you make more than the man you're dealing with. If he makes more than you, great, beautiful, kudos, happy for you. Fact of the matter is, more than likely you make more than him. So now all of a sudden, you call it provision if he pays every bill, but he makes on average $22,000 less than you per year. Are you going to circumvent your lifestyle to live like him? In Georgia, I live in Atlanta. In Georgia, the cost of living is $44,000 per year. The average man without a college degree makes $30,000 per year. So you mean to tell me that as a woman, you're going to get into a relationship with a man who is living beneath the poverty line and expect him to pay every bill? Are you really going to circumvent your lifestyle to live with? No. Let's be for real. Now, I'm not telling you whatever your standard is your standard. Your goal.
She should pay for his college.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, these are legitimate statistics. I'm not making this up. I didn't pull this out of my, out of my pocket. These are legitimate statistics. So let's be for real about the situation. If you're getting in a relationship, let's not even talk about the rate of inflation that has increased from 1940, 1960, 1980, 2000 to 2020, right? Let's not even talk about that. The cost of living that has occurred. Let's not talk about how the house, 60 years ago cost $30,000 and this same house costs $180,000, depending on what location it's in. And if you put it in another location, it costs $250, another college costs $300, same house. Like, let's not talk about all of those things. It's going to take anybody who talks about traditional values. Are you a traditional woman? Because if you're not a traditional woman, don't talk to me about traditional values. Right? So if I'm a traditional woman and I'm sitting here waiting for my traditional man, by all means, let's have a conversation. Good stuff. All right, fine. But 99 out of 100 women ain't traditional. Because we don't live in traditional times. Traditionally, you wouldn't have a college degree because you weren't able to work. Traditionally, you wouldn't make more money than me because you weren't able to do. You wouldn't able to go to school. You wouldn't be able to go to work. Your job would be in the home. But just like back in the day, the Charleston True, whatever that dance was, that was the traditional dance, right? And over the course of time, traditions change. You know what traditional dance is today? Twerk. Everybody twerking now all of a sudden, right? As we twerking. Same woman doing the two-step. Yeah, that's what she's doing now. It's traditions change. So as traditions change, so does our standards change. It's not the same anymore. Don't turn around and try to put traditional standards on today's time. It's way different. Be real about what your situation is, have a real conversation, and be adult. If the person that you are with cannot provide the things necessary for you in the moment that you're in, then go ahead and walk away from the situation. Does it matter what you need today? If it don't, fine. I'm good enough to walk away. If it does, great. Let's see if everything else matches. But to say that men don't, I'm stuck on that. Men, there are so many providers out here that provide the things necessary for a man, for a woman in a household and a relationship to thrive. That is way more than a man being an accountant.
Mhm.
I'm gonna die on that hill. I'm gonna die on that hill.
I love it. 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 I knew that this would be the conversation. I didn't realize how the house would be built. But I want to say I appreciate all of you for coming, taking your time out of your day on a Saturday. You can be doing anything else, but you came to add to the kingdom. This conversation adds to the kingdom. I am a different kind of preacher, and a lot of my friends be like, oh, why you do it that way? Because there's going to be somebody who don't do church, who's going to come across the feed, and they're going to hear one of you. And you are going to click in their spirit, and they're going to change their heart about this conversation, and that may draw them closer to the Almighty. That is our whole purpose every time we come on, that we impact the kingdom. And each one of you, I follow all of you. I click like and share, and you guys are on everything y'all do, because I know you impact the world. And all of you have impacted my life. All of you have changed my life. And I want to say thank you. And my audience is excited. I know fingers are tired because they typing. They typing tonight. And I have Mother Francine Gate comes on, and she is 80 years old. She comes on every Saturday night. And she's like, I'm too old for this conversation. She said that, but she typing more than anybody. She is typing more than anybody tonight. So I want to say, each one of you, I want you to have your last thought. If there was a person and they were in a relationship and all the bills were riding on them, and they just needed somebody to encourage them, to love on them, each one of y'all love on that person who needs to hear something that they gonna make it. So I need each one of y'all to say something. And it's really directed to a man, because this conversation, me and Jada have a female conversation, but I think men are not being encouraged. And I'm real honest. I made money while I was married. And in my first marriage, I made sure he knew I made more money than he did. Until I lost my job. He's real quiet. And then 6 months into me not having a job, he just walked by. He make more money now. And he just walked past me like I wasn't. And I was like, and I was like, and it knocked the wind out of me. But God taught me a lesson. That, God grabbed everything from up under me. And I had to depend on my husband for everything. After that statement, he still paid the bills, still loved on, we still went to church, still did everything. But just that one statement he made, who makes more money now? He just walked off. And I had to deal with the consequences of who I was. And now, that is something we get along really well now, and we have a lot of kids together. But I regret that word that came out of my mouth. I regret saying that to him because I don't know what I did to him, and we were married for 17 years. I don't know what I did to him, and I might have made him feel small. And that was the father of my children. So speak to a man who needs to be encouraged tonight. We're going to go with Jadia because she's the only other lady. And then we're going to go with Trey, Marcus, and Ben. Come on, Jadia.
So I would just like to say to that man that you are valuable, you are worthy, and you are doing the best you can with the tools that you have. And just know that trouble always has an expiration date. And that if you feel like you cannot take it to anybody else, take it to God. Ask him to give you rest, ask him to give you peace, and ask him to lift your burden. Because I am a living witness that he can and will do it. Even if he has to send angels in human form into your life to help you do it. But you can and you will make it.
Come on, Trey.
Good job. I'm a living witness of having to learn how to be not afraid to fail. Being a man, sometimes we look at it as it always falls on us. So if you can hear this, you watch this live, and you can follow those brothers, that young lady, Pastor Claudette, you'll get a feeling that if you truly know where your help comes from, and you're able to get on your knees, wake up with that mindset, today I will have the courage to fail. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have all the right answers. We don't have to be the ones that we got to get it right. Like Vince said, we are human. So if you can hear this, fellas, reach out. You're not alone. You're not by yourself. Everybody on this panel, I think, will be willing to give you a word. Sometimes we take it up into alcohol, we take it up into abuse, drugs, and so many of us have left bad taste in our women's mouth because of what we've done. So we can be better. Let's work on being the best version of ourselves. And remember, I love you.
Come on, Marcus.
In the age of mental health, I will say this to the young man that's dealing with a lot and has a lot on his plate. Don't be afraid. Don't feel less than. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. In this day and age where the suicide rate is increasing and the black man in the home is decreasing, don't be afraid to ask for help, right? Advocate for yourself. If no one else will, be your biggest advocate, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out. I told this to someone the other day because their back was against the wall, and they put it on social media, and they told me, and I reached out to them because I saw the post on social media. No one else did. But because I saw it, because she was venting, I reached out in her inbox, and she has been dealing for something for 20 years. And so do that, whatever it is. Get it out there. You never know who's watching, and ask for help. And so I was able to help that young lady with something she had been dealing with for 20 years. But it took her voicing her opinion. And she felt ashamed. And I said to her, I'd rather you post on social media, post your business, post what's going on about you all day, every day on social media, than read about your obituary because you killed yourself.
Wow.
Come on, Ben.
For men, a scripture says a good man falls down 7 times and gets back up again. It does not matter how many times you fail, it's how many times you get up. If you lay there then you've been buried in the ground. But if you are in the dirt as a seed, you're going to sprout up. How do you see yourself? The people that you are surrounded by, the people that you are around, has influence over you, but you determine your direction in life. You determine the impact that you're going to have on this earth. You determine the people that you can influence. That is all on you. I grew up as a man. Let me tell you something. I grew up dirt poor, in the hood, family full of killers and drug dealers all around. You don't have to be the product of your environment. It is a choice. You choose life. So if you choose life, that means regardless of where you come from, you can be great. You can be better than. It is a choice that you make. So if you want to be that example of a man, if you want to be that great husband, you want to be that great father, you want to be the person that the man in your life that you have never seen before, you can. Because I guarantee you there's somebody that's out there who looks just like you, came from the exact place that you were, and is living that life right now. It's your choice. You choose whether or not you want to live beneath yourself, or you want to choose to live the life to your higher calling. It is a choice. Whatever it is you want in this life is set before you. You walk towards it and you go after it. Your goal or your standards, that is it in this life. You want to be a provider? Learn of yourself. To be a better man, that means you got to learn who you are, where you come from, what makes you you, and then all the things that are negative or not as good. Opportunities, that's a better way, because that's why I talk about my team. Opportunities, you recognize your opportunities, work on your opportunities. All of your strengths, make your strengths stronger, work on your opportunities to be a better version of yourself. You can be whatever it is that you want. It is all up to you. You do not have to stay in a state that you're in. You can be whatever it is that you choose to be.
I love the conversation tonight. And I have a topic I want to invite y'all back to. While we've been talking, I've been writing. And I'm just going to put it out there. And I'm going to text and call all of y'all. But the conversation would be about, if a relationship ends, was it really love?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'll be ready for it. Oh, yeah. Please call me back on that.
I've enjoyed you. I honor each of you for coming tonight. I thank all of my supporters, especially for this last month, losing my pop, calls, texts. I love it all. I mean, because the color had left the world when Pops left. It left the world for me. That was the man. Love mommy to the day he died. Love my brothers and myself, grandchildren. It was the man, and I'm looking for the man. I want what mommy had. So I guess this is why this conversation is so stirred for me. So I love all of you. Thank you so much, Trey, Marcus, Ben, and Jadia. Thank all of my followers. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully somebody was inspired tonight to be the best version of themselves. I know I'm better for being around this collective of people. And the funny part is, Trey is the only one of you guys I've met in person. And you guys still have changed my life.
Well, Claudette, I live in Atlanta, so we're going to have to figure out a time to have lunch or something. So.
And you only 45 minutes from where I am. We going to make it happen.
Absolutely.
We going to make it happen. We going to make it happen. So I love you guys. And this is another episode of Straight Talk Food for the Soul. Enjoy your weekend and have good service on tomorrow. Love you guys. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Good night.